everyone, this is the Press Dior, and this is Labyrinth of Touhou, also known as Touhou Labyrinth. This is the special disc version, so it has pretty much everything. I don't know if they are still updating this game or not, but I have some of the patches, I guess you could say. This is not going to be a full playthrough, it's just going to be a brief video, kind of giving an overview of the game itself. I'll warn you now, there'll be some spoilers on what characters you'll be getting in this game, because I'll be using a later save. But the game's been out for so long, and if you go to the wiki, it'll tell you every character anyway, so it's not too serious. Pretty much, if you see a Touhou character, it's more likely going to be someone that joins your party. So, as you see, I have some saves, but we'll be going with the last one. As you can see, Mei Ling is level 660, so this is kind of a high numbers type of RPG. Alright, where we start out in the in Gensokyo. Even though I have the English translation patch, it does not translate everything, but the descriptions will tell you. The descriptions are in English at least, so you know where to go while you're in Gensokyo. This is this first option here is for leveling up characters. This is actually the Hakure Shrine. So if you go to the Hakure Shrine, you'll meet this person that I don't remember her name. She's like some sort of forgotten goddess or something. But you spend every time you win a battle, you'll get XP. Everyone will get XP, but the people in your party will get more XP than those that are not in the party. It's like a difference by about 15%, so it's not too serious. But it does add up over time. But as you get experience, you come back here, and you spend that experience to gain levels. Like, we'll use Vermilia as an example. She's level 89 at the moment. She has a lot of accumulated XP because I haven't really been using her, so I don't bother leveling her up. So, you can, every time you level up, the rate you level up is entirely based off the character. Some characters who have really high stats and high abilities and stuff like that will level slower than some characters who are weaker, like, I'm not sure what I can use for an example. I know some of the slower levelers are kind of like Yuka, and I guess some of the faster level ups are characters maybe like Mistia or Chin, maybe? In the wiki, it'll actually tell you what stats will level up faster than others, and as well as their level up ranking. So the wiki actually has a lot of information, but some people don't like going to those, so we'll just keep going. If you press up and down, you can specifically decide how many levels you want to gain. In most cases, unless you're doing like a certain challenge for yourself, all you really need to do is press the right arrow, and it'll automatically put to one higher than the amount of level ups you can get. So you just press down once, and there you go. You got 407 level ups. Just for the sake of this video and not spending 407 level ups, we'll go ahead and just level up 10 times. So there you go, level up. When you level up, every level up you get to assign a bonus to your to a certain stat. This bonus will increase the stat by a small percentage. It's not really too huge, but it can add up over time. So it's usually best not to spread your points out. Usually, so just for whatever character you want to make that person into, like a tank or just a DPS or something like that, you should focus entirely on that. So Vermilia is kind of like a tanky DPS type, but there's not really much point in putting points into her defense, so I'll just go ahead and level up her attack. And if I choose to, I can go back and take the points out. Yeah, it doesn't level up fast. You can also, then it says, you know, make sure you confirm it and all that. Let me check one thing. Yeah, there's no faster way of doing it, so you might be stuck pressing the button a lot if you're just leveling up some character you haven't used in a while. So we'll go ahead and do that, and there you go. She gets a slight bonus. If you look to the side, you would have saw that her stat was increasing every time you put the points in. It wasn't probably too huge because it was only 10 level ups, and she doesn't really have any her skills aren't level up that much, which we'll go ahead and go on to skills. Use this, as it says down there. It's kind of hard to read because of the background, but it says use the skill points you gain to enhance your character's stats. This is the the Scarlet Devil Mansion's library where Patchy is. As you see, there's Patchy. And then you can see all your characters. There are 40 characters in this game, so if you don't want to see what characters there are, just close your eyes and forget that I ever mentioned Yuka and Mystia. Let's see. I can't really do an example here because I don't have any skill points, so I'll just show it for now, and maybe I'll come back here. For example, there is Mei Ling. As you can see, all the stats have levels assigned to them. Like, she has 260 levels of HP, 90 of SP, 20 of DP, etc. You also notice that evasion is always at level 1. This is because evasion is useless in this game, and you should never put points into it. In fact, that's the only thing I can put points into. Oh, I know an example I can use. Let's go to Yuki. Alright. As you can see, off to the right, you see all of her stats. You'll see like the standard stats like attack, magic attack, defense, mine. Mine is pretty much just magic defense, speed, and evasion. As I mentioned, evasion doesn't do anything in this game because all attacks there's no accuracy and there's no evasion numbers. So you don't really need to worry about that because attacks will never miss. Now, being immune is a different story. Sorry, my mouse is completely in the way. Alright, below the stats you'll see these colored kanji symbols, or I think those are kanji. But the purplish is poison resist, yellow is paralyze resist, gray is silence resist, red is instant death resist, and the long blue text is stat reduction resist. And then off to the right you'll have more kanjis, more Japanese symbols. Actually, I do believe those are kanji. I don't know, it's hard to tell. It's kind of color coordinated, but it's red is fire resist, blue it's well, it's called affinity, but it's fire affinity, water affinity, then wind, then I think it's just referred to as earth. I don't remember. It's either that or grass. But and then the other two, one is spirit, and the other is I completely lost it. So, but just to move on into the top right corner, you'll notice that I have 24 skill points, and as I scroll through stuff, various things will require a certain amount of points. How much points are required depends on the character. Like, as I mentioned before, some stats level up faster for certain characters. Like, if I went to Patchy, her cost for increasing attack will be a lot higher than increasing her magic. Just like with Yuka, who's supposed to be a physical attacker, or a tank, I guess. You can, these two stats are relatively cheap to increase, and then magic and the rest are a little bit more expensive. Now, what every level up does is increase the bonus to your stat by a very small percentage that adds up over time. So, as you see, I have an attack of 88 right now. If I increased it by 1, it goes up to 91. And as you keep increasing it, it kind of gets higher and higher. Now, some of these might actually level up kind of slow, like speed. Speed tends to level up a lot slower. So, some of these, but it's safe to assume that higher is better. Speed just kind of doesn't, the benefits of speed kind of don't increase as quickly. And that should be it for skill points. So let's go ahead and move on. This is Change Your Party. This is the Scarlet Devil Mansion as well. As you can see, barely in the top left corner, it says Scarlet Devil Mansion. You see Vermilia there saying, you know, it's referring to Ludia's bar. There's a lot of kind of mentions of other like anime and games, I believe. I think Luda's bar is from Dragon Warrior, but I think like Dragon Warrior 3, but I'm not entirely sure. So, as you can see, I have my current party here. You'll notice that there's 4 active slots and 8 reserve slots. Yes, you go into the dungeon or the labyrinth with a party of 12. There are options to the left here where you can move all your party members, unequip all your characters, or unequip all non-party characters, because you have items in this game as well. So, you know, you can always go through and pick whoever you want. Obviously, you can't pick someone that you already have in your party. We'll go ahead and keep the same party for now. Here is the rift that leads to the labyrinth. If you go in here, It's called Another Space, and you have all these. When you first start out, your only options are going to be Let's Go Home and Enter the Dungeon. But as you find checkpoints, you'll unlock these other places, so you don't have to constantly go through previous floors whenever you leave the dungeon. I'll come back to this later. And then the last part is the Human Village, which is where you save load. As you can see, that's I believe, yeah, Akiu's house. You can record your journey, which is save your game, read your records, which is load your game. In the plus disc, you can actually choose what version of music you want. See, you can change the music like that. Personally, I prefer the version 1 and version 2 music, because it tends to have a lot better battle music. You can also, for the plus disc, you can actually sell equipment. You can't sell an item that you only have one of. This is for selling duplicates. And as you sell items, they'll get a selling multiplier and be worth more each time you sell the item. So this is another way of getting skill points, like if you collect random drops and just sell them. And then this will just take you back to the other menu. You also see these stars. You won't really see these stars until you beat the initial game, which is the first 20 floors. Once you beat the first 20 floors, you'll get the game cleared star, and then from there you collect stars based off certain things. Like if you collect all the non-plus disc characters, you'll get a star. If you collect the first initial 100 items that make up the original game, you'll get a star. And all these stars do is unlock certain things that are in the dungeon. You really only need to unlock five stars, and you'll be able to get access to everything, assuming you're high enough level to survive the encounters. But you can actually get as many stars as you want, because once you defeat the final boss, spoiler warning, because his name is Winter, if you beat the plus disc boss, you'll actually come back to the main Gensokyo, and you'll just get this star. And every time you beat him, you'll get another star, but he's stronger each time. So if you really feel like it, you can go through and fight the Winter as many times as you want. I believe someone actually did fight him 100 times, but personally, I just was happy I beat him the first time. He's pretty tough. So that's about everything about the menus. Let's go ahead and go into the dungeon. I'm going to go ahead and go to the final dungeon area, which is floor 30. You can't go left and right on these menus, you have to go up and down, so I just pressed up to go right to the last floor. So let's go to floor 30. Alright, as you can see, the dungeon layout is very, it's just grid based. It's very, you don't really see any features. The only thing you can kind of use your imagination for is the, as you can see, there's a lot of little energy background type thing we have. The background changes based off what floor you're on. So like if I go back to the previous floor here, you'll see it's kind of a, it's like a more labyrinth type area. And also in the top right, it's kind of cut off, but you can see the name of the floor, like the Alien World Key Holder is the name of floor 29. And if you go back to the next floor, it'll be called the Gallery of Enshrine something or other. I don't remember the full name. That blue little icon there is a checkpoint. If you step on it for the first time, it'll unlock the area for whenever you come, to allow you to come straight to here. As you notice, I appeared here when I initially came to floor 30. Alright, in the bottom left, you'll see there's a number and a percentage. The number represents your, well, 1 second. Okay, I see. The number represents what your next, how much your percentage is increased from that last step. Every time you take a step, it's going to increase the number. Sort of. I think I said that wrong. But as you take steps, that number's going to increase. As that number increases, the higher the chance that you'll have a random encounter. Now, I can go into my menu here if I feel like it. I can check my status, I can change my formation here, but I can't change characters out. So these 12 I'm stuck with until I go back to Gensokyo. Going back to Gensokyo will just take me back to the menu. It will also revive every character that has died in battle, as well as restore all SP and TP, which I haven't explained TP or SP yet. SP is just your mana for using spells, TP is kind of like a stamina point system. Like as you fight, you'll lose stamina, and if your stamina runs out, your character will just say, "Hey, I'm tired or bored or whatever," and leaves. So we got that. Rest will drain TP from everyone, but restores SP for everyone. So it's something to use if you just don't want to go back yet. But in most cases, if you're out of SP, you're more likely going to be out of TP. The only reason I have, because when you start the game, you're not going to have 82 TP on melee. You're going to have maybe 13. So that's like 13 fights. Also, whenever you finish a battle, anyone that's in the active slots will lose 1 TP at the end of the battle. This number may increase based off how much damage you've suffered. Like if Mei Ling took 1 point of damage, automatically she'll instead of losing 1 TP, she'll lose 2. So instead of being down to 81, she'll be down to 80, for example. Alright. I'll go ahead and show off equipment. All characters have 3 item slots. Any person can use any item. As you can see, there'll be descriptions of all the items on the bottom. Also, as you move and pick items, you'll see that if it's red text, it lowers your stats. If it's blue text, it increases your stat. There are some issues with the translation or the descriptions that it kind of lies, or it doesn't lie, but it leaves stuff out. Actually, yeah, it does. I think there are a few that lie. It says that it increases a certain stat, but it doesn't. It actually increases a different one, and sometimes it'll increase a stat that it didn't even mention. But for the most part, it's pretty reliable. All the stats do is increase stats, or resistances. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied again. But that's just about it. You pick 3 items. It's best to usually pick items that will help that character in their role. Like for Mei Ling, who's more of a tank character, I try to increase her main HP defensive stats, but her main focus is actually her affinities and her resistances, so she doesn't get paralyzed or instant death. So okay, that's all the items there. Let me check something. Okay, there we go. If you press the A key, it'll show the map. It won't show the entire map, it'll show what you've revealed. I've already revealed everything on this map. Exclamation points will represent they can represent anything. They can represent switches, events, save points, stairs, or even bosses. So it's kind of in some maps, some floors, this map could be completely useless due to the teleporters. But in this case, this is a very simple map. This is a boss area. I mean, this is the final level. This is nothing but bosses. All the random encounters are bosses, which is why I'm kind of wanting to show this, because this will kind of show some depth and allow me to explain the combat system a bit better. So let's go ahead and get that started. As I mentioned before, I can move freely until I happen to roll below the number that's already been listed on the bottom left. You know, percentage check like an RPG. But if you press the M key, you'll see that it just went to 200, which means my next step will have a 200% chance of being an encounter. So let's take that step. And we're now fighting a boss. As you can see, this is Moko. This is Moko version 3. This floor is nothing but bosses you fought before, but version 3, which means they're stronger, and yeah, that's about it. They're just stronger. So we'll go ahead and show off the various options you have here. You have to attack. Attack will use your attack stat, obviously, and just do a melee attack. Unless you're playing like a character unless you're using someone like Flandra, you're never going to use attack, because more than likely it'll do 0 damage because the monster's defenses will be higher than your attack. This game revolves around using your spells and, controlling your resources. So very rarely I ever use attack. Usually I use it maybe if there's one monster left on the field and I just want to kill it, and I have a heavy hitter like Flandra, or might even get away with it with Chen. So you got spells. All characters right off the bat at level 1 will know all the spells you'll ever know. You'll not learn any new spells. The only catch is you might not have the SP to use them when you first get them. For example, you start out with Marissa, but you don't have enough SP to do Master Spark until later. So as you can see, all of these spells require different amounts of SP. There's descriptions on the top. And there's various types of attacks. There are single target attacks, that's self-explanatory, attacks a single target. There's multi-target, which affects everything on the screen, and then there's row target. Row target, what it does is it's just like multi-target, but it's limited in the fact that the primary damage goes from left to right. In other words, like if Moko did a row attack to our party, it would do the most damage to meleeing, then the next, or it will do the most amount of force to meleeing, then Yukari, then Ron, then Nitori. Now, obviously, resistances will affect the damage, but primarily, those in the back will take the least amount of damage, while those in the front will take the most. Alright, that's those three types of targeting. There's various elements. Okay, the element I forgot to mention, one was Spirit, the other one is Mysticism, which is magic. So, sorry about that. Let's go. There's also various spells that affect our that are for your party, like Ron's, this one increases attack and magic, and this one increases defense and mind. Defensive buffs are, let's go ahead and show this off. We'll do Banquet of the 12 Gods. This is attack and magic. So, there you go. You get some nice little special effects. You see magic and attack up for all characters. Moku starts things off with auto healing, which that's just a special thing for this boss. As you, a lot of these bosses will do things that you might not know about unless you look up the wiki or just do trial and error. So these bosses can be pretty interesting, but at the same time, it can sometimes be kind of like going to a raid battle in an MMO for the first time and not knowing what to expect. Going back to Round's spell that I just cast, it's now Netori's turn, and if you look, you notice that Netori now has attack up 16%, mag up 16%. This means those stats are increased by 16%. As time goes on, these numbers will lower by based off your speed. So as time goes by, this number will lower. The higher percentages, the faster it'll lower, so it'll gradually slow down as it gets lower and lower until eventually it just disappears. Stat bonuses do stack, which means if Ron casts this spell again, it'll be another additional 15% to everybody. It also does about 10% to non-party members, which is just a special effect for Ron. Usually it doesn't do that for buffs. So, I did forget we already just discussed spells. Let's discuss Focus. Focus, what it does is it uses up your turn, and in exchange for restoring a chunk of your SP based off your recovery stat. In most cases, it's going to equal to your recovery stat. The only exception to this is Yomu, who gets double, because Yomu has issues with SPs, and that's kind of for a balance thing. Also, the thing about spells and taking actions is it takes as you see, there's a blue under the boss there's a white bar, and under our portraits we have blue bars and white bars. This is your what should we call this? Maybe the ATB meter from like Final Fantasy. Like once it's full, you can take an action. Every action you do will take a certain amount from that bar. Like some attacks will take very little from that bar, allowing you to instantly act again, while others will take a chunk of it and will keep you from acting for a good duration. Like Ron's buff spell, she can't spam very quickly, so as you can see, she's pretty low. She has below half her AP filled up right now. So let's go ahead and try out another spell. We're going to do Megawatt Linear Gun. This is Netori's most powerful attack. It's a single target spell. Blaster for 3 million damage. Yeah, this is, as I mentioned, this is a high numbers game. Mei Ling's our main tank and has 376,000 HP. And this boss we're fighting has millions of HP. So, as you can see, Netori's bar is completely black. Her move does a lot of damage, but it completely drained her AP bar, which means it'll take forever for her to get another turn. So this brings us to switch. When you switch a character, you can switch out any character you have as long as the character you're switching out has more than 3 TP, which shouldn't be an issue if you're preparing to fight a boss. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch in Kanako, and that's the end of the turn. Switching takes up very little of the AT bar, the action bar. As you can see, Mei Ling's already at 75%. Also, Kanako comes into the game, into the active slot, or sorry, the active party slot, with 75% with her bar filled. If I were to go and switch her Nitori back in, she would come back in with 75% of her AP bar. So you've probably seen what kind of the strategy of this game revolves around. It revolves around switching in your attackers as quickly as possible, while also swapping. Your goal is to swap in heavy attackers and then swap them out as quickly as possible, because you don't want your attackers to be left out in the open. Because if Moko's to attack and I had Philandra out, she would lose a good chunk of her health because she has no defensive stats. So since Moko's turn is kind of coming up, that's kind of why I put her, Kanako out, because Kanako is kind of like a tanky mage. So we have her out. She's gonna try to take the upcoming attack from Moko. Now, as you can see, there's these bonuses, but it's Yukari's turn. I'm gonna go ahead and do Inquadruple Barrier, which is a 50% buff to defense in mind. There you go. Mind and defense up. See, it was Moko's turn. She hits us with her spell. It did 0 damage to meleeing Yukari and Ron, thanks partially due to them having already good defensive stats, but also due to the fact that Yukari buffed their stats by 50%. But the only side effect was Moko's spell debuffed some of our characters. As you can see, now we have defense up, mag up, mind up, but attack down. There's ways to remove these debuffs, but they also wear off over time. Much like we can actually debuff this boss if we really cared to. It's also possible to do status effects to most bosses. So it's possible for us to actually paralyze Moko or poison her, for example. So there's this game's not like other RPGs where the boss is immune to everything. You have to do nothing but damage. There's actually some strategy depending on certain bosses. Like some bosses revolve around you being able to to paralyze it, or do some other sort of status effect. And then there's some bosses that revolve around you debuffing it so it doesn't have its high attack stat. So I want to go ahead and continue. As you can see, Yukari's kind of empty from the buff, so I'm going to switch her out. Is that what I'm going to do? Yes, I will do that. So what we can do, let's see. What I want to do is switch in Chin. And then I'm going to, well, she suffers some huge debuffs here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a single target cold spell on Moko, because Moko is vulnerable to ice. Does about over 1 million. Chin, as you notice, Chin's bar went up really fast, because Chin's a very fast character. I'm going to go ahead and show off Moko. This is a self-buff spell that doubles her attack, but halves her defense and it halves her defenses. Excuse me. But since Chin has no defenses, it doesn't really matter. So she's going to die anyway if she gets hit. So I'm going to double her attack power. So there, it's doubled. And you can see that her bar's already almost full, because that buff spell doesn't take very much of her action bar, so she can act her already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep buffing attack. Try to restore what lost. I'm going to go ahead and take a risk here and do Flight of Datin, which is her single target spell. Does about 1 million, but it's also uses up very little of her bar. So we'll go ahead and swap out. We'll go ahead and stick with what we're gonna swap in Yukari. Yeah, that would have been safer. I wouldn't have been able to get another action fast enough. All it would have happened was maybe Chin might have went first, and then I would have swapped her out anyway. So it's no big loss. Not much to worry about here. No one's taking very much damage. I'm kind of over leveled for this fight, but this is kind of a unique fight. This is a boss fight, so I kind of want to show off some of the. It can be a long boss fight, so this is just a way to show off some of the unique things that happen. I went ahead and just cast a simple heal spell that Mei Ling knows that also removes all debuffs. Or sorry, not debuffs, but status effects. It was just something that passed a turn. I'll go ahead and do quadruple barrier again. This only affects those in the active slots, by the way. So, as you can see, now she has 72% for her defenses. I'll go ahead and do her ice spell again. It's now doing over 2 million damage thanks to the buffs, counteracting the debuff. So we'll go ahead and keep increasing attack power. The benefit for Ron is the fact that her, ouch. That was a single target spell on Yukari. I've made Yukari into like a buff tank. Like, she's not as good as Mei Ling, but she's durable enough for this to stay out and just keep buffing. So let's go ahead and swap in someone else. We'll go ahead and swap in, as you can see, due to Ron's special ability to buff people that are not in the party, this is gradually building up. These percentages will not drop unless you're in the active slot, so it's something that's kind of neat about Ron. If you take the time to buff people, it can really be beneficial. So, let's see what her time's at. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch Chen back in. She goes first. There you go. I'll go ahead and do quadruple barrier again. Just keep buffing. Buffs are usually a safe way to play this game. Just buff yourself and try to debuff the opponent. Where are we at in time? That's not good. I'm gonna go ahead and put Kanako here, and then I'll keep buffing. Keep buffing, more buffs, more dots. This is iffy, but I'm gonna go ahead and try it. I'm gonna do that attack again. Do another million. Yep, no good. Okay, she took it though. Yeah, we're very over leveled for this, because this is the party I used to fight the very last guy, and that required some grinding. This game's does have some grind spots that kind of require you to level up, or at least get enough skill points to level up things like affinities, which you may ignore throughout the beginning. So it's something to keep in mind. But the game's really good at giving you places to level up. Like this place with all the bosses is actually a good level up place once you figure out what bosses to fight. Like this one I usually try to avoid because it takes a while and it's kind of dangerous of a fight. But let's continue. I'm going to go ahead and swatch it. Actually, I'll swap in Nitori. See how we're looking. And we're looking alright. I'm going to go ahead and switch in. This is iffy. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and swap in Chen again. And then I'll go ahead and do her ice spell. Does over 3 million now. See, I just swapped in Nitori, and she was at 61% attack and magic, and just from the time it took her to fill up her bar, it already dropped down to 48%. So it's something to be aware of. That it's sometimes not the best just to buff all the way to 100%, because you're going to lose that 100% very quickly. Let's go ahead and cast the spell again, over 3 million damage, almost 4 million. We'll go ahead and do, we'll swap in Flandra, and then we'll swap in Yukari, and then I'll swap in Ron, and then swap in Kanako again. That was probably a little messy. Okay. Some of these bosses have phases, and we just hit phase 2 with Moko. She only has 2 phases, but the way Moko works is her first move is always she casts that, like her little immortality thing, which is a self-healing thing. Like every round that passes, she regains health, but it doesn't show that. And during that phase, she actually has like millions, like, well, I mean, all the bosses here have millions of hit points, but in this case, Moko would have had like maybe like 200 million HP, something ridiculous, something that can't be ground through very quickly. But the game keeps track of, in this case, the boss actually keeps track of how much damage she suffered, and once she's taken a certain amount of damage, no matter what her HP is at, she will go into phase 2. At phase 2, her hit points drops drastically, but she goes kind of in a berserk mode where she just does a lot of heavy hitting attacks that can't be resisted as easily. So now this is turning into going to be a DPS race. It shouldn't be too difficult because like I said, I'm over leveled. but I'm going to go ahead and do Mountain Breaker just so I can do some extra damage. It's not that much. I mean, it's still 500,000, but Mei Ling's not really designed for attacking. I'm going to go ahead and do Quadruple Barrier just to get our stats up. I don't know if it's going to really do much against what we're about to be up against, but I'm just going to keep buffing and hope for the best. It's been a while since I played this game, so I don't know all the details. Ah, there you go, she died immediately. Alright, as you can see, we won the match, or won the battle. We get skill points, and we get XP. This XP goes to everyone in the party, and 85% of it goes to the people not in the party. So we get that, and that's the end of it. Sometimes you might get items. So that's kind of what I wanted to show off. This is just a brief tutorial about the game and kind of how it's set up. If you want to learn more about the story and stuff, you might as well play it yourself. If enough people are interested, I might do a playthrough, but it can get kind of boring. Just simply well, as far as a Let's Play is concerned, it would get kind of boring, just walking around mazes up constantly. And there is some cases of grinding, so... I think that's about it. I'll go ahead and show off going back to Gensokyo. Go back to... Yes, really. It just takes you back, we get all of our TP and stats back and all that stuff, and if we go, we notice we'll have, you know, all the skill points we spent. Even though you have 12 members of your party, if you lose your entire active slot, you lose. Like if Mei Ling, Yukari, Ron, and Nidori were to all die, just suddenly, like all get instant death or something. That's it. Game over, you have to go and reload a save. But like if one character died, like if Nidori died, this slot would be blank. And then what you can do is, with like Mei Ling or whoever your tanks are, you can just swap someone into that slot. So there is some strategy involved with some cases. Sometimes they'll for some bosses that you don't have the items to absorb all the damage, you can have 2 sacrificial lambs, and then those characters will die from like whatever the blast, the spell was used, and then you can just swap people into those in and out of those empty slots, and then have your tanks tank all the damage. So it's something kind of to think about. There's kind of some unique ways to fight some of these bosses. So I think there's nothing really much else to talk about. I guess the only other thing I can mention, besides the fact that evasion is useless and never put points into evasion, is for the status resistances, you only need up to maybe 30. For some of the tougher bosses with higher chances of doing a status effect, 40 is a good safe bet to have. If you have 40 in a resistance, you'll not get that. You won't get hit by that status effect ever, almost. It's kind of how status effects are decided are kind of weird. Like even if you have like a 200% chance of doing a status effect, if someone had 40% 40 resistance to it, it probably won't work on them. But other than that, I didn't show off the fact that some characters do have like status effect spells. Like for example, Mystia here has this AoE that does poison and paralysis. So and some characters specialize in certain status effects. Like Wriggle specializes in poison. She has the best poison effects in the game. Like some status effects are better than others. Like Suwaku's paralyzed lasts longer than Mystia's, for example, and Wriggle's poison does more damage per tick than Mystia's poison. So there's various things that the game doesn't tell you, but is actually part of the game. So I think that's it. This is the Press Eeyore, and thank you for watching, and hope this was somewhat helpful to you guys. Alright, gonna save the game and call it quits. See you guys.